back, everybody. We're going to have a look at some of the uses in commas when we're reading and writing. So when do we need commas? We need them to separate items in a list. So if we've got a long list of things that we're buying, we need to separate each one with commas. If we're going to add information into the middle of a sentence, we need to surround this by commas. So we would call this in parenthesis. We need two, one either side. We also need a comma after a fronted adverbial. So if we've got a main sentence and then we add extra information before that, we need to separate that with a comma. Let's have a look at this example. So in writing commas in a list, you need to put a comma between each item, except for the last item where we use and. So we have and in that case instead of a comma. Let's have a look and see. So in school, we play hockey, netball, football, and tennis. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sports that I play. So in school, we play hockey, comma, netball, comma, football, and I don't need a comma now because I have the word and. So in school, we play hockey, netball, football, and tennis. Here we've got a longer list, but we've also separated each item with and. We can use a comma so that we don't have to use and. It's a bit clunky for the reader. So in school, we play hockey and netball and football and tennis and rugby and cricket. We need to get rid of some of those ands. So we have, in school, we play hockey. Let's get rid of that and use a comma instead. Netball and football, we don't need the and. Let's put a comma after netball. Football and tennis, we don't need the and. Tennis and rugby, we don't need the and. Let's put some of the comma in. Rugby and cricket. We'll leave that and because it's the last one. So now we should have, in school, we play hockey, netball, football, tennis, rugby, and cricket. So just one last and no comma. Now let's see if you can spot the error. There's a couple of exercises for you. You can pause the video when you've decided on your answer, then you can unpause it again and check that you've got it right. So you're going to spot the error. So the first one, at the supermarket, I bought bread, butter, cheese, pickle for my sandwich. I wonder if you spotted it. There's actually two errors there. So we've got a list of things that we bought. At the supermarket, I bought bread, comma, yeah, butter, comma, cheese, comma, pickle. Pickle is the last thing I bought. So I don't want that comma in there. I need and here. And I don't need a comma at the end of my list. I'm just carrying on telling my reader what's happening. So at the supermarket, I bought bread, butter, cheese, and pickle for my sandwich. Did you get both of those? The next one, violins and drums and trombones and trumpets were set out in the hall for the performance. What would you do to make that better? Yes, you're right. We've got far too many ands. So let's see if we can sort that out. Violins, no and, let's have a comma. Violins, drums, trombones isn't the last one in the list, so let's swap that for a comma. Violins, drums, trombones, and trumpets were set out in the hall for the performance. Okay, so just too many ands there, and we can separate them with a comma. Last one now. The UK is made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. You spotted the error? Yeah, it's this comma here. We don't need a comma before and. So let me cross that one out. Now let's see. The UK is made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Right, there's a challenge for you. See if you can write a sentence about what you saw at the zoo. I've put some pictures there for you in case you couldn't think of any animals. Don't forget the comma rules and your capital letter and full stop at the end. Have a go and then unpause the video when you're ready. Okay, so an example of what you might have is, on my trip to the zoo, I saw penguins, comma, kangaroos, comma, monkeys, comma, elephants, and lions. Remember, no comma before the and. The next use of a comma is when we add information into the middle of a sentence. So if the information drops into the middle, we need commas on either side of the extra information. So you'll see here, we've got a full sentence. My sister lives in America. It makes sense on its own, absolutely fine. But let's drop some information in and see what happens. So my sister, who is younger than me, lives in America. I've still got the main sentence, my sister lives in America, but I've dropped some more information in the middle. And so I need to use the commas around that information. So I must have two commas, one at the beginning and one at the end. It's called in parenthesis. Let's have a look at another one. So we've got a whole sentence, lions can be very dangerous. Makes sense on its own. I'm going to drop some information into the middle. Lions, who belong to the cat family, can be very dangerous. I've still got the whole sentence around the outside, but I've dropped in who belong to the cat family. And we've got here commas. It's got to be surrounded by commas. I've got one more. So if the information is in the middle, we're going to drop it in, remember, with the commas either side. So Venus spins clockwise. True fact. If I add some more information in, Venus, unlike the other planets, spins clockwise. So you can see again, that extra information we've dropped into that whole sentence is surrounded by commas, one each end. Right, your turn again to spot the error. Pause the video while you're having a look and then unpause it to find the answer. So where is the error? John Taylor, a boy from our village, has qualified for the Olympics. Have you spotted it? So we've got a boy from our village. It's the extra information. If I read John Taylor has qualified for the Olympics, that makes sense on its own. So the added information is a boy from our village. And we know that that should have commas either end. You had a comma this end, but we didn't have a comma at the beginning of the extra information. Did you get it right? Let's try the next one. Ravi, with the help of his friend, rescued a cat from the top of the tree. So I need to try and work out what the extra information is that's been handed in. So we've got Ravi, with the help of his friend, rescued a cat from the top of the tree. If I take that extra information out, I've got Ravi rescued a cat from the top of the tree. That's fine. Add the extra information in. He's got a friend helping him. I need to put that in commas. So with the help of his friend, missing comma at the end. So make sure you've got them both sides. Now have a look on this one. Last year's winner, who works with my brother, didn't enter the competition this year. What are we going to do about this one? Yeah, I bet you've got it. So you should have last year's winner, who works with my brother, didn't enter the competition this year. So who works with my brother is the extra information that's been dropped in, and it has got commas either side. If I just read last year's winner didn't enter the competition this year, that would make sense on its own. So the extra bit of information has been dropped in and we've used commas to surround it. Now you have a challenge. Where's the extra information in the sentence? This will tell you where the commas will go. So we've got saltwater crocodiles, which can grow up to 7 meters in length, are most commonly found in coastal waters. Yet extra information is which can grow up to 7 meters. If I read it without that, it should still make sense. Saltwater crocodiles in length, now that might make sense. Saltwater crocodiles are most commonly found in coastal waters. So the extra information that's been added in is which can grow up to 7 meters in length. So obviously that needs to go with the commas. But you see, when you read it, you need to make sure that it makes sense. I had to go back and reread it because I knew that when I'd left in length out, it wasn't making sense. Right, the next reason that we might need a comma is for a fronted adverbial. A fronted adverbial adds more information to the sentence, the same as the last one we looked at, but this time it goes at the front. So if it's at the front, it's going to start with a capital letter, and then the extra information will end with a comma going into the main sentence. So let's see what we can do with that. The extra information won't make sense on its own, so it needs a comma to separate it from the main part of the sentence. When we're using a fronted adverbial, we're adding information about how, when, and where. So let's have a go at adding to the main clause here. The monkey swung through the trees. Makes sense on its own. That could be a sentence if it had a capital letter. Let's see what happens when we add a fronted adverbial. So the how, like talented acrobats, the monkey swung through the trees. We've got a capital letter at the beginning. We've got a comma after the fronted adverbial, and then the main sentence, the monkey swung through the trees. Let's have a look at when. So early that evening, comma, the monkey swung through the trees. This fronted adverbial is telling us when. So early that evening, and we need a comma. On its own, early that evening won't make sense. It needs the rest of the sentence to help it make sense. Still got the monkey swung through the trees. Let's have a look at where. In the rainforest of Asia, the monkey swung through the trees. So adding extra information at the beginning of the sentence, and then we need the comma. Your turn. So you can pause the video while you have a go. Your main sentence is, the children read their books. You need to put a fronted adverbial at the front and don't forget the comma. Unpause the video when you're ready to check your answers. So we have the how, are the children doing it? Sitting in silence, comma, the children read their books. When were they doing it? After lunch, the children read their books. Don't forget the comma. Where were they doing it? Inside the classroom, comma, the children read their books. So you see, adding extra information at the beginning and then one comma. All right, your challenge. You're going to need to pause the video. All the commas are missing from the Little Red Riding Hood story. Can you see where they need to go? You might want to write it out, put your commas in, and then unpause the video when you're ready to check. Right, let's have a look. We should have 3 different types of commas needed. So Red Riding Hood's mother packed her basket with cakes, jam, tea and biscuits for her sick grandmother. Oh, we've got a list here. So in the basket, there were cakes, jam, tea and biscuits. So I need to separate them with a comma. Cakes, comma, jam, comma, tea. Do I need a comma? No, I've got and. So Red Riding Hood's mother packed her basket with cakes, jam, tea and biscuits for her sick grandmother. Done the list. Singing happily to herself, Red Riding Hood skipped through the woods. Now if I had Red Riding Hood skip through the woods, that would work on its own, but I've got this extra information. Singing happily to herself, comma, it's a fronted adverbial. So 1 comma. How is she doing it? She's singing happily. Singing happily to herself, Red Riding Hood skipped through the woods. The final sentence, let's see. The wolf was hiding behind a tree, licked his lips hungrily. The wolf licked his lips hungrily. There's the extra bit of information. Let me see if we can highlight that. Who is hiding behind a tree? So if that information has been dropped into the sentence, we need comma either side. The wolf, who was hiding behind a tree, licked his lips hungrily. Did you get all those? If there's any that you're stuck with, you might want to rewind the video a little bit and just have another look. I'm going to say thank you very much and keep reading. Don't forget to look in your books for commas that will separate items in a list, commas that will add extra information into the middle of a sentence, so you'll need a comma each side, and after a fronted adverbial goes at the front of the sentence and adds main information to the main sentence. Don't forget you only need one comma there. So keep reading and good luck.